Yeah, we are live.
Okay, so shall we begin?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So, hi everyone. Welcome to today's session. The OLT series is the final session for today. My name is Ankit, and I'll be your host for today as well as the speakers, one of the speakers. So, today's session is all about core branches, and we have a very esteemed set of speakers today who have landed admits uh, all across the world, from US to different countries in Europe, including France, Germany, Netherlands, and so on. So we'll get started with the session right away. Just a note for all the audience who are watching. We'll be taking questions at the end of each speaker session. And finally, at the end of the session as well, we'll take all your questions. The live chat feature or the comment box should be on, so you can put in all your questions over there. We'll get started now. The first speaker for today we have is Dhruv. Dhruv, whenever you're ready.
Hello. Yeah, I'm ready. You can start the slides, sharing the slides.
It's visible, right?
Um, Not yet.
What about the others?
Presentation is visible.
It's
Um,
I'm sharing the tab. That's why.
okay, just give me a minute.
Okay, I think there's some technical difficulty from Dhruv's side. Uh, until then, the audience, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put it up on the chat box. Any general questions related to masters or graduate applications, with respect to core fields, of course, do put it up on the chat box, and we'll take them either now or we can take that up
Cool. I can
after
see
the
it now.
session.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay, Dhruv, whenever you're ready, you can start.
Yeah. So thanks, Ankit, for the introduction. So hello, everyone. I am Dhruv Banerjee, a BTech graduate in chemical engineering from NITK, the 2023 batch. And I'm an incoming PhD student at Northwestern University in the US. Um, First of all, I would like to thank all the exclusive clubs for taking the initiative in organizing this session for us and for you guys, so that you gain an insight on how the graduate application journey has been for us, and you could get a good perspective on how you could plan out your next year or the upcoming years for the same. Ankit, you could move on to the next slide. Yeah. Yeah. So talking about my profile, I first of all, I am a chemical engineering student, but have made a transition, as in I have changed my major for my PhD. So I'll be doing a PhD in applied mechanics, or more aptly, theoretical and applied mechanics (TAM), which is not exactly a different field, but it has a lot of alignment with, let's say, chemical engineering, mechanical engineering, and material sciences. So, talking about my profile, I majored in chemical engineering and had with a minor in maths and physics. And
I think Dhruv has a bit of technical difficulty still going on. Ananya, are you free? Are you ready?
Yeah, I am.
Cool. Okay, we'll begin with Ananya.
Yeah, I hope I'm audible.
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay.
After my second and third year.
Okay, he's back, I
Um,
think.
yeah,
Dhruv, are you here?
yeah, I'm there. I'm there.
I think your network uh, cracked. We couldn't hear you at all
Oh,
in the beginning.
okay, okay.
After after your minors, I think we didn't hear anything.
Oh damn. Okay. Okay. I'll start again after my minors. Yeah. So I had a minor in MACS, that is Math and Computational Sciences. I took both the TOEFL and the GRE exams. My scores are, as you can see, I got a 323 on 340 in the GRE and a TOEFL score of 107 out of 120. And the important component of TOEFL score for a PhD applicant, I believe, is the speaking section and the listening section. So I got a good score of 30 on 30 in the speaking section. Yeah, that's about it. Other than that, I didn't have publication at the time of my application. That is around August last year. But I had a paper, I had a research paper under review, and there was one under preparation. Both of them were with me being the first author, and the one under review was in the NASL journal, the National Academy of Science Letters, which a few of you might be knowing as one of the leading engineering journals in India and abroad. So yeah, that's about it. I'm talking about my research internships. So I took two internships, both of them in the summer after my second and third year. The first one was at the Department of Chemical Engineering in IIT Bombay. This was after my second year. This was after my second year when I um, decided to start off or take delve into the path of research. And the other internship that I did was after my third year in the summer break at the C2N CNRS lab in University Paris Saclay in France. So I think this was a major turning point for me where I got to do a lot of experimental work in a proper lab setting, the kind of work that I decided to devote myself to for the next few years, or maybe got interested into. And this gave me a first-hand experience on how research is outside India. So yeah. Other than that, I have been involved in a lot of extracurricular activities and held a couple of PORs and been part of college clubs. And other than that, I would highlight my role in ISTE Catalyst, wherein I was the SIG advisor, and I got to do a lot of good projects, which really helped in building my profile. So even before I took internships at IIT Bombay and the other one, I had a couple of projects in ISTE that gave me an idea on how I could, independently decide and work on projects in the domain of chemical and allied areas of chemical engineering. And it built my interest in working independently and in a group on research projects. So that was something that exposed me to this. And other than that, I also decided to sit for placements apart from higher studies. So I got a placed in the BASF, that is a core chemical company. And another point that I would like to mention is I added these stuffs in my CV at the time of application. So I received the Institute Merit Scholarship. So that was maybe a brownie point for me, as in something that I highlighted as achievements. So this was yeah. We can move on. Hello. Yeah. So the programs that I applied to, in the initial phase itself, I had decided that I would go for a PhD over an MS. I had a couple of reasons in mind. The first one being I have not explicitly written over here, but I'll just talk through those points. So the first one being that I was quite inclined on getting a doctoral degree since I got quite interested in research maybe. And the other thing was that since I had this thing in mind that I would go for a PhD, I didn't want to go through the route of an MS and a PhD. So I took a shot in the dark, assuming I wasn't very sure at that point in time whether a direct PhD would be possible after BTech for uh, in a general case, but I decided to just apply for a PhD in all of the universities that were in mind, and that is how I shortlisted my colleges. So these were some of the ones. These are the 8 colleges that I applied to, and I distributed them in my bracket of ambitious, safe, and reach. So the first three were for sure ambitious. Uh, MIT PhD in mechanical, UC Berkeley, Northwestern PhD in TAM. The next three were maybe sort of reach for me. I would say the next five were reach. I didn't have a safe college as such, but yeah, I applied to IIT Kanpur through NITK when they had come for recruitment. So that's about it. And I applied to NTU Singapore for a M engineering in chemical and biomolecular engineering, since they don't have an option for direct PhD for Indian students in as far as I understood. But the M engineering program is a thesis based program wherein you could transition into a PhD after 2 years. So yeah, and talking about the choice of my universities, so since I basically have a little bit of nano science and material science interests in my profile, so I took the top three materials and nanoscience colleges in the US, which are MIT, Berkeley, and Northwestern, and I ambitiously decided to apply there. And you can see that most of these colleges are not in the domain of chemical, but yeah, I just applied to these programs based on my interests and choice of labs. So yeah, that's about it. Can we move to the next slide? Yeah, so the admits that I received 4 out of 8 admits. The first one was in Northwestern University for a PhD in TAM. The second one was at UCLA for a PhD in chemical engineering. And in Columbia University, I didn't receive a PhD admit, but they gave me a fallback MS admit. So this is how it works for a PhD position. You technically have 2 steps in your application. The first one being your application as such, which you submit to the portal, and then there usually it follows up with an interview, a personalized interview with your professor or the choice of supervisor that you have mentioned. So in case of Northwestern and UCLA, I had proper interviews with my guide. And for Columbia, they do not have the interview system in place. They usually have a follow up kind of a system wherein they follow you up with multiple emails stating the state or the status of your application. Wherein ultimately I got an MS admit since I didn't meet the requirements for a PhD, and I got an admit from IIT Kanpur as well for the PhD program in chemical engineering. The reasons I feel that I received these admits was that I had quite early on decided on my domain of interest, and I worked on quite a few projects in the same domain, which were focused towards that same objective. So I got an internship project that was a computational work of my domain, and then I did a proper experimental laboratory kind of a project in my third year, and along with that I got some international research experience. So these added up to my profile really well. And I also had in my statement of purpose, I had a good mix of academics, research, and extracurricular activities, which I was able to position it around my in such a way that it targeted the reason and the choice of my research, and it also served as a big motivation towards why I want to pursue research and a career in this field ahead. So I think a mix of the two helped me in securing the admits, I would say. But yeah, I agree that a bit of luck also plays a role in this process. So yeah, moving on. Could we move to the next slide? Yeah. This is something that I wanted to discuss on how to shortlist universities, labs, and supervisors. I'll go a little fast through this slide since I've talked a bit about it. But yeah, one of the real challenge for a PhD applicant could be or would should be that is quite often seen is in deciding what lab, what university, and what supervisor to work under. Since BTech students, as BTechs, we aren't really exposed to research. Deciding on what field of interest we have and whether the lab or the guide would fit us is really tricky. But a good way to start is by researching labs in your field of interest. So instead of searching for programs, I would suggest search for labs that have your field of interest and projects in your field of interest. And once you identify such labs, you mark them down or list them down in your in an Excel sheet. Moreover, you could also check on profiles of the current graduate students who are there in these labs. Often it is seen that a lot of interdisciplinary work goes on. So it's better to just check on the profiles of the current graduate students in the research labs. And a good way to get in touch with the labs or universities is to write to the professors. So this is an additional step that I would recommend to all PhD applicants. Emailing professors is always a good idea when you are applying for a PhD, since a PhD is different from MS in the sense that here you get to work on a one-on-one basis with a supervisor instead of doing some coursework under doing a regular coursework. So it's better to get in touch with your supervisors and understand the kind of work that goes on in these labs or in the universities. And after this you could also identify whether your intended or the given supervisor is really interested in your profile or not. And if he has openings for your profile, you could apply accordingly. Moreover, sorry, I'm back. Yeah. Finally, I would say that as a caution, or you could take it as an advice, is please do not deviate too much from your department while choosing your PhD program. So, this is something that I talk from my experience. Since I am a chemical engineer, but I engineering graduate, but I applied to a lot of departments that were not exactly in the chemical domain. So this may work for you, but a lot of times it could backfire as well, since these these seats for each department is really limited for PhD applicants. And it's seen that in a lot of cases, universities prefer BTech graduates from the same department as PhD students. For example, UC Berkeley has really less seats for international students, and they do give a preference to a lot of students who are from similar backgrounds in their undergrad and then moving on to their PhD. So please do not deviate a lot, but you could surely experiment on labs that offer projects in your domain and apply accordingly. um, yeah, that's about the slide. Moving on, general advice and tips. So as I said, please try to identify your field of interest in your core or an allied domain early on. So I would typically recommend that you decide on what you want to do after your maybe after around the end of your second year, or maybe after the summer break, around the time of your summer break, because this would really help you in building your profile, since graduate applications really depend a lot on how you have structured yourself and your work in undergrad, and how you have worked towards an objective that you want to fulfill. So that is something I would advise. And for a PhD candidate, I think a quality that you must have is being naturally inquisitive. So try to build a good network by doing projects, internships, and try to gain skills along the way. So having a lot of internships or a lot of projects in your profile may not outweigh the importance of skills that you have. So if you could demonstrate a particular skill that you have gained from a project, I think that adds a lot of value to your application. Try to publish, yeah. So this is something that I did not have at the time of application. I did not have publications, but publication is really, really important. I cannot stress much, but this is quite important for a PhD admit. So this really boosts up your chances, I would say. But apart from publications, you could also build your profile by doing good internships, maybe getting scholarships through MyTax, Sherpak Lab, and DAD. This could be a good opportunity to show that you have worked in a diverse research environment and have also potentially understood how research goes on in Europe and other countries, US and other places around. Finally, I would say just stay calm, believe in yourself. I agree that this could be a tough journey since you're competing with cohorts from all around the world, not just India. But yeah, I believe in yourself and just work towards your objective with a open mind and have a good support system of friends and family. I think you should be good. So all the best to you all. Could we move to the next slide, please? Yeah, so you could reach out to me at any time. Here is my email ID, and you could also connect to me on LinkedIn. My mobile number is this the Indian WhatsApp mobile number, and please do refer to my Gyan review. I have explained a lot of things in detail over there for more insights. Thank you very much, and I thank you for your time and wish you all the best. We could move on with the next speaker, Ananya. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Dhruv. I'm sure that is pretty insightful for all the people who are aiming for a direct PhD program. One thing that he wanted to highlight is that in Columbia University there's a fallback option, so might as well take your risk. Do we have any questions for Dhruv? Hemant?
Nothing yet.
No,
If
fine,
anybody has a question, they could.
sure. Okay, so we'll move on to
Sure.
the next speaker,
Thank you.
Ananya.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay. So hello everyone. My name is Ananya and I'm from the Metallurgical and Materials Engineering Department of 23 batch from NITK. So I'm sure the other speakers will cover enough about the application process itself, about the SOPs, your CVs, and what kind of universities to apply. So one thing that I would like to show in my presentation today is the different scholarship programs which are there in Europe, because that's what I have applied for. So can we move on to the next slide? Okay, so in short, let me just tell you about my profile. I haven't included that in the PPT. So my major is MME, Metallurgical and Materials Engineering, and I had a minor in CS. And my final CGPA was about 9.16. And coming to research internships or projects, I did not have any research internships or projects, and I'll emphasize more on that later. I only did 3 industrial internships, and one of it being at Bosch. And my final major project was in the field of biomaterials. So I'll also tell about why that was a good point in my profile. So why did I choose Europe? I mean, because most of them who go for MS, their first options are always US or Canada. And the main reason, one of the top reasons being is the tuition fee diversity in Europe. Um, Depending on the country that you apply to, you can either have zero tuition fee, or when it comes to countries like UK, it can be really high. So and the second thing is there are many scholarship schemes, which is what I'll be talking about in the further slides, some being Erasmus, DAD scholarships, and Charpak scholarships. I'll be talking about them in the further slides. The third reason being the language proficiency test, which is either the TOEFL, IELTS, or GRE, which is usually required for an MS application. When it comes to Europe, I would say almost 90% of all the universities require only IELTS, which is a very easy exam to crack. The other speakers will be talking about some of the IELTS tips in the further slides. And you don't need any special preparation as such for IELTS. Just around 10 to 15 days of mock tests is more than enough. And another reason being opportunity to learn new languages. So when it comes to US, the common language is obviously just English. But when you go to any Europe country, be it Germany or France, although the courses itself will be in English, you will still have to interact with the locals or the professors over there, which gives you the opportunity to learn the language of that country. And intercultural experience, countries like France and Germany especially is a hub for international students, and you have people from all over the world coming to study over here, which is again a really good opportunity for exposure to new opportunities and new relations. And another thing when it comes to European education system is the strong foundation in basics. So unlike US, which offers a lot of electives in their courses, in European the curriculum, it's usually most of the courses are mandatory and fixed courses. So one good thing about this is that, especially if you're coming from another branch, if you're changing your major for MS, that's a really good thing because it gives you a really strong foundation in a particular way. Suppose you're coming from mechanical to material science, all the courses which are provided are the basics. Even some which you've covered in BTech will be covered in detail already. So it's not really much of an issue to change your major a little when you go for MS. So another main reason for why Europe is a great country to study MS in is its emphasis on sustainability. Be it the courses which are given there or even the companies which are there, they have a lot of emphasis on sustainability. For example, I'll be showing that later. My course, which is about advanced materials in the field of sustainability. And coming to the job opportunities, once you study in one country of in Europe, you can travel anywhere around Europe for your job opportunities. So that's a really there's a vast amount of resources and networks you can get to use over there. So yeah, we can move on to the next slide. Okay, so coming to the Erasmus Mundus Scholarship. So these are a set of programs which is funded by the European Union. And what this program is, it's a joint master's program between two or more countries, between two or more universities. So basically, each program has a tie-up with 5 to 6 universities all around Europe, in different countries of Europe. Basically, one university in each country is tied up to each program. And yeah, so it's a mobility program. Basically, your first year will be at one country in one university, and your second year will be in a different university at a different country in Europe. And again, when it comes to your placements and employment, it's a really good thing because most of the companies here prefer students who are on a mobility program because they have the experience of two different countries. And these programs can either be partially or fully funded. Yeah, we can move on to the next. So these are some of the examples of the courses that I just compiled. There are like many more courses, around 50 to 60 courses in this Erasmus Mundus program. So some of the examples like relating to core, what I found are as given, like it could be manufacturing for intelligent and sustainable technologies, or if you're a material science student, you could go for sustainable mineral and metal processing, or the one which show the one sixth one which shows you, which is advanced materials innovative recycling, AMIR program. For those interested in robotics, you can go for intelligent field robotic systems, marine and maritime intelligent robotics. And those interested in civil, there's also a program for sustainable design, construction, and management. So there are various programs in this course, and these are only the engineering courses that I have mentioned. There are many more courses related to law, business, entrepreneurship, humanities, history, languages. Uh, these Why I would suggest these courses over regular courses is that it's something different. It's a mix of things which you don't normally see before. You'll see in my course why that's very unique thing. Yeah, we can move on to the next. So another body similar to the Erasmus Mundus is the EIT, which is the European Institute for Technology. And so it is a EU body. So under this, we again they also provide various scholarships like Erasmus Mundus. So one of the committee in EIT is the EIT raw materials. I think this committee would be a good option for metallurgical or mining and chemical students. So examples of some of the courses that they have are Masters in Sustainable Materials, Advanced Materials for Innovation and Sustainability, or Entrepreneurship, Innovation and Technology in Mining Engineering. And for those from mechanical, they also have another committee known as EIT Manufacturing. And we have again People and Robots for Sustainable Work, Additive Manufacturing, Zero Defect Manufacturing. So these are very interesting courses which I did not find in any other regular universities. Um, yeah, so coming to this EIT, why I would suggest this is that when it comes to the Erasmus Mundus programs, the full scholarship is offered to very few students. So barely, I think, one or two students in the whole class get a full scholarship. But when it comes to the EIT program, every student who is selected to the program, I'm not sure about the EIT manufacturing courses, but the EIT raw materials courses, so every student gets an AVSA grant. So AVSA is added value student activity grant. So that is a grant of 13,500 euros for 2 years, which is given to every student in the class. Although the amount of scholarship is comparatively lesser than what you would get in an Erasmus scholarship, this it's a more confirmed opportunity. You know that you're going to get a scholarship. So giving you an example, I did get an admit for the Masters in Sustainable Materials, which is the SUMA program, and my two countries were in Austria and Belgium. The total fees for 2 years was only 3,000 euros, which was 1,500 euros in both the countries. And even if you calculate the living cost, maximum of up to 18,000 to 20,000 euros for 2 years, um, including the 13,000 grant that you get, you will only have to spend about 8,000 to 9,000 euros, which is about 7 to 8, maximum about 10 lakhs from your pocket, which is considerably very less compared to any other regular degree that you would take in other countries. So main reason again I chose Europe is I wasn't very sure if I wanted to do an MS, if I wanted to spend so much money on doing an MS in US especially. Although I would say that opportunities, especially for material science, are really good in the US when it comes to, I'm not talking about research because I'm interested in going towards industry after this. So I'm talking about job opportunities after MS. Although, yeah, it's very good in the US. Europe, slightly the pay is obviously lesser than what you might expect in US, but I would still say this is a really good opportunity because there are a lot of new technologies which are coming up in many of the European countries, which really have a focus on sustainability, which is a much needed concept in the coming future. And I feel it has a lot of untapped potential and untapped opportunities, which would really be useful. Uh, Yeah, so we can go on to the next slide. So these are some of the programs that I applied to. So when it comes to the regular courses, I applied only to Sweden. So I applied to 3 universities in Sweden, which is Uppsala for materials engineering and additive manufacturing. I applied for 2 courses there, and I applied to Chalmers University for materials and KTH Sweden, and in this was my first option Uppsala, and I did get an admit for that. But coming to the scholarship, it was still on the waiting list, and the second Erasmus Mundus program I applied to was the Functional Advanced Materials Engineering, for which I got a full scholarship, total of being 51,600 euros, and I also had applied to 3 other mobility programs similar to the FAME one, which was Amir, Advanced Materials Innovative Recycling, again, in which I did receive a full scholarship of 51,000 euros also. And the other 2 programs were the EIT Raw Materials program, which was the AMIS and SUMA programs, in which, again, that was a confirmed scholarship, of which I received 13,500. So that's why I would suggest you really to try for these programs, especially if, yeah, and also there's no application fee to apply to any of these programs, the Erasmus Mundus and the EID programs. So there's no harm in trying to apply, because even I wasn't, I do not have any research projects or research internships under my profile. And I was sure that I wouldn't get any MS because of this. But talking to some of the seniors and the alumni in these colleges, they mentioned that at least for an MS in Europe and these things, they don't really expect you to have any research profile as such. But if you do have one, it's really a added advantage. But don't feel dejected just because you haven't been able to do any research projects. You can still try for these, and I seriously did not expect to get a scholarship at all, because very few people in the Erasmus, because I think there are about 20 students in each track who are selected for this program all around the world, and in that 20 students, I think about 2 or 3 get a full scholarship. And even if you don't get a full scholarship, there are still opportunities for you that the tuition fee might be waived, and there are many other scholarships like Charpak and DAD scholarships, which you can apply for after you get these programs if you don't get a fully funded scholarship. Yeah, you can go on to the next one. So I'll just talk in brief about what my program is. So it's known as FAME AIS, which stands for Functional Advanced Materials Engineering with Artificial Intelligence for Sustainability. So the main aim of all these courses is to aim sustainability challenges in the field of advanced materials, how materials can be used to optimize all our processes around us, how it can be used to bring out more sustainability, reduce wastage around us. So that's the gist of what the program is. So the universities which have a tie-up to this program are Grenoble INP and Bordeaux in France, TU Darmstadt and Augsburg in Germany, Aveiro, which is in Portugal, and University of Liège and Louvain in Belgium. So how this program works is that for first year, you can either try for Grenoble INP or TU Darmstadt. So these are the 2 universities that you'll get to choose for the first year. And I chose Grenoble INP because it had really good courses for first year, and second year, actually, it hasn't been allotted yet. It will be allotted in the second semester, and I'm aiming for TU Darmstadt because, again, their second year electives, they have a lot of electives in material science and very diverse. And one thing I liked about this program is that when I looked at the list of alumni and the passed out students and what they were doing right now, it was so diverse. Like, even though the courses are mandatory, like every student has the same courses, but the path each of them take are very different. So it doesn't have to be that because you have the same courses you need to go into the same kind of field, because some students were totally into thermodynamics, some students were into biomaterials, and some students were into steel or metallic materials. So it it offers a very diverse opportunity. So, and the scholarship breakdown for this, how it works is that since I got a full scholarship, the fee for each year is 9,000 euros, which also got waived off for both the years. Plus, they're giving me 1,400 euros every month, which I can use for my living costs and other expenses, etc., etc. And another specialty of this is something called the FAME AIS project, which is a collaboration project between the partners who are associated with this program. So each program, they have a number of industrial partners who are associated, and where you can be doing your internships, or if you get lucky, you can even get a placement in those companies. And these especially when it comes to Grenoble INP, it has a lot of that whole city is like a student city, right? So it has a lot of laboratories, companies which are dedicated to material science, which I found really interesting. And one new thing about this course from this year is the AIS wasn't there before. So they added the artificial intelligence courses from this year. Not many courses, just one or two, but that's a really interesting thing to see how artificial intelligence and simulations, modeling, and how that can be incorporated into material science. And just I would like to end by saying you need to you can start searching on all these topics by the end of your sixth semester, or even the beginning of your seventh semester is better if you start on those. And don't be dejected if you don't have, as I mentioned, don't if you don't have any research internships, you can still try to apply. They also do accept people who have a really good experience with industrial internships. And make sure that the major project you're doing, or any other club project you're doing, is inclined with the courses that you're going to take in MS. For example, my major project was in biomaterials. So in all my SOPs, I emphasized on how what I would work on in biomaterials itself. But few of the again, tailor your SOPs according to the programs that you're applying. For example, the Amir program, which I mentioned, was more about recycling and yeah, reducing and recycling. So I changed my goals a bit towards how I would work on those fields about yeah, on recycling. Yeah, so that's about it. I think you can go to the next slide. Just press, yeah. So these are my contact details. If you wish to know anything about these Erasmus Mundus programs or EIT programs, feel free to contact me. Yeah, that's about it. All the best for all the further coming students who are going.
Okay. Thank you so much, Anya. Do we have any questions, Hemant? For
No questions.
fine. Okay, fine. We'll move to the next speaker. Okay. So, hi everyone. My name is Ankit, and I got an admit into. I mean, I'll be going to RWTH Aachen University in Germany, and I'll be pursuing my master's in materials engineering. So a little bit about me. This is my profile. I did my BTech in chemical engineering, and then I wished to do my master's in materials. I pretty much knew that I don't want to do chemical. I don't want to do core chemical engineering. Just an idea for everyone that materials engineering is like sort of a subset of chemical engineering, right? It does come under. But I didn't want to do core chemical engineering. Like I didn't want to do thermodynamics, or I didn't want to do fluid dynamics and stuff like that all over again, because I knew I'll fail in those subjects. So I wanted to do something which was near related to my field of interest. My CGPA was 8.14. I had 8 internships by the time I was done with my BTech, including and from those 8 internships, 5 of them were research and 3 of them were corporate internships. The companies and sort of the labs are written over here. I had 7 publications and 1 technical review. So the 7 publications were 5 were journal papers, 1 was a conference paper, and one was a preprint, and then 1 technical review as well. Along with this, I had 2 fellowships. So fellowships basically means sort of like a grant or sort of like a selected
cohort that fights for a particular mission, right? So I had two fellowships. One was the Mayor Technimont Research Fellowship, which later got converted to my major project as well. And then I had also the United Nations Academic Impact Millennium Fellowship. The reason why I highlighted this United Nations one was because the time when I applied, I think that was 2021. That was the maximum. That was the year when they received maximum applications. I think around 25,000 or 30,000 people had applied, and only 6% of those got selected. And that was like a very low acceptance rate, and that was something I felt could be highlighted. And apart from that, I had 12 projects, which were both independent and research oriented and relevant to my like, sort of field of interest. And then I had some extracurriculars, which included IST, ESL, LSD. Then I was an internship coordinator my third year, and then I was also part of TEDx and 1EDC also. Um, and I had some amount of volunteering experience, and a little bit about my research interest. I'm mainly interested in photovoltaics and solar cell materials. In simple terms, energy materials, right? So photovoltaics and solar cell materials, for those of you who don't know, it's a very upcoming field of research wherein you try to develop new materials or tune material properties to make more efficient solar cell devices or solar devices. So yeah, that's pretty much about my profile. Okay, so these are the universities I applied to, and if you see the bottom, the TU Munich one is in yellow. It's because it's still in pending. I haven't gotten any rejects till now. Whatever universities you see over here are the ones I applied to and I got admitted to, except the TU Munich one. So if you guys notice, my universities are all across the place. It's then US and Europe, and I think that and UK, Australia also. That particularly is because when I was in my third year ending and fourth year beginning, I was not sure where I wanted to go. I was like very confused because US, as Ananya rightly mentioned, high pay was there, but Europe, the quality of life was very good. Australia also was like one of the countries which had established itself in sort of photovoltaics, and UK, the master's program was very less. It's only a 1 year master's program. It was very rigorous master's program, and you get a job pretty soon, right? And Netherlands, I only applied to two universities, TU Delft and University of Twente. So in my case, since I was not sure where I wanted to go, I just applied to all the universities I know, and which I felt were pretty good in my field of interest. And I think that worked in my favor because once I received those admits, then it was up to me where I could choose where I wanted to go, right? So after I received those admits, that is when I began my research for which university sort of favors my ambition in life. So that's when I decided to shortlist Europe and particularly Germany, right? Just a little bit about the universities. I got a direct PhD in Northwestern. Columbia, I got an MS program. University of Manchester in UK, I got an MS program. Adelaide, I applied to UNSW and University of Adelaide. There also, I got an M engineering program. Netherlands, I applied to two universities. And Germany, I applied to three universities, out of which I got admits for two, and TU Munich is on pending. So the thing with Germany was I actually initially shortlisted 10 universities. But then when I applied to RWTH Aachen, I got the result pretty soon. I got it in like less than a month. So when I got it in less than a month, I decided that the universities which rank below RWTH Aachen, I won't apply to that. I'll only apply to the universities that lie above RWTH Aachen. And Aachen and TU Berlin sort of lie in the same ranking scale. And then there's TU Munich apply to these. So that sort of brings me to the next question. Why Europe, and why should you consider Europe, and why you shouldn't consider Europe? So if you're someone who's interested in sustainable development, renewables, and that sort of a space, right? Then I would say Europe is the space for you because if you see majority of the research developments and sort of breakthrough technologies that are there in the market today, it's majorly from Europe. I'll give you one statistic. So 1%, I think close to 1% of the renewable energy that is powered today is renewable energy, and from that 1%, 47% is coming from Europe. The rest is coming from across the six continents, or what is the rest of the world, right? So that sort of shows how advanced Europe is with respect to renewable energy, and its sort of subset fields like renewables and photovoltaics and energy materials and all that stuff. Then comes work-life balance and quality of life. one particular thing that I noticed from my research was Europe takes quality of life and work life balance very very seriously. Uh, Even if your work time is 8 hours from nine, if it's 9 to 5, if it's a 9 to 5 job, you're expected to work only 9 to 5. They don't want you to go back home and start working on your office work because you have a life beyond work as well. So that is something that intrigued me a lot. And security, I think that goes without saying that Europe, particularly the continental Europe, that is Europe, Netherlands, France, Spain, all these places have a very good sense of security, right? And it's very affordable. I think, as Ananya rightly mentioned, there's this diverse spectrum of fees that you get to pay, and particularly public universities in Germany have no tuition fees. There's just a semester contribution that you have to do, and that semester contribution is hardly a couple of hundred euros. Uh, PR is very very easy in Europe, which is something that I want to highlight specifically. I saw this statistic recently on internet that if you want to apply for a green card as an Indian applicant, if you want to apply for a green card in Germany, sorry, in US, it takes around 135 years. The waiting time is 135 years, and the case for UK is horrible because since the economy is not so great for UK at the moment, uh, they're not issuing PRs at the same rate as they used to do before. But for Germany in particular, it's completely the opposite. Before the PR rules were you need to work 5 years in Germany, file the taxes, then you can apply for PR. But now they have reduced that 5 year bracket to 3 years, and after 3 years you can apply for a PR. And Europe is Germany in particular is very desperate for skilled young force workforce because if you see, Germany is, I think, the fourth or fifth largest economy in the world, and Germany has majorly a very old population. A lot of like old people live over there. So they want young people, young immigrants to come in and work over there and sort of maintain their economy at that fourth and fifth level, right? So I saw the statistic that they need at least 200,000 international like immigrants, legal immigrants, to come in and study and work over there. And Germany has this option where after you complete your studies, you get 18 months stay back visa where you can go ahead and search for jobs all across Europe. And most important thing, it's borderless, right? Another data that I saw online, it was an interview actually. So from RWTH Aachen, actually there was this class of, I think, around 60 people, 50 people, 43 people got jobs all across Europe, from Denmark, Switzerland, Germany, everywhere. Three of them went back to their home countries and started their own companies with the help of RWTH Aachen, and the rest of them started their own companies in Germany. Uh, then comes, why not Europe or Germany, right? Language barrier in Germany is a major concern because if you want to get a job in Germany, you need to know their language, and by knowing their language, I mean you need to be fluent in talking. Uh, there are people who get sort of their B1 or B2 or C1 C2 certificates in German, but they don't know how to talk. So it's not about the certificate, it's about how fluent you are with the language with respect to speaking. uh, in Germany, the problem is the living costs are very very expensive. You might pay only 200 euros for the semester contribution, but your rent might be close to 600 euros, 700 euros, and the numbers go outrageous, right? Like per month you need to pay at least 1,000 euros for just living costs. So if you're someone who's a little bit concerned about that, Europe is not the place for you. For Germany, there's one mandatory thing that you need to pursue a thesis program. So if you're not someone who's interested, if you're someone who's not interested in research, I wouldn't suggest this, because this thesis has around 30 credits, 30 ECTS points, and you can't sort of graduate without completing that thesis. And then there's high income tax in Germany, around 42 to 48%, depending on the income salary that you earn. uh, okay, so I'll just run through these points very quickly. Why RWTH Aachen? RWTH Aachen has an acceptance rate of less than 10%. So basically, you network with the best minds all across the world, right? And in Germany, there's this thing called TU9 Alliance, where the 9 best technical universities in Germany, they have formed like this sort of group. It's called a TU9 Alliance, and RWTH ranks the second in that. Then for material science and engineering, RWTH Aachen ranks 27th in the world, which is higher than even some of the best universities in Germany, including TU Munich and TU Berlin. TU Munich is on 31st rank, and TU Berlin is even lower. and RWTH Aachen is famous for like mechanical, chemical, and material science engineering. Fun fact: inside in Germany, uh, along with sort of the in-house funding that RWTH Aachen has for research, the highest third-party funding for RWTH Aachen is for RWTH Aachen, and it has more than 2,000 companies that collaborate with it uh, for research and for recruitments on a yearly basis. And then there's a student ID card that RWTH Aachen students get. It's called the Blue Card, where you can travel across the entire NRW state for free. You can use all the public transport for free. And Aachen, the city, is the westernmost city in Germany, and it's majorly a student city where 20% of the uh, inhabitants are just students, right? And there's something called DAX 40 companies. These are the top 40 companies that are listed in the Frankfurt stock market, and there's an untold rumor that these DAX 40 companies majorly recruit people from RWTH Aachen, and because of the strong technical capabilities, right? And then the job opportunities in Germany and outside Germany is wild, because if you see the geographical position of Aachen, it's pretty strong, right? And then the research and product development renewables for Aachen, again, sort of top notch. And if you're someone who's interested in sort of an exchange semester, or want to go to other countries and pursue your thesis, then RWTH Hakim provides you with that option, where there is this Idea League program where it's a partnership of 5 universities. There's TU Delft, RWTH Aachen. There's one in Sweden. I think it's Chalmers University. Then there's one in Italy, and I'm not sure of the other one, but there are 5 universities, and you can choose which university you want to pursue your thesis in, and RWTH Aachen like funds the entire thing. And then there's an industry collab also, where you can choose which industry and which company you want to do your thesis in, and RWTH will fund that also. And then there's like a founding a startup program, where if you have a business idea using some particular technology, RWTH will be the incubator for that. Uh, so sort of the generic documents that we'll be requiring for a master's program anywhere, for any country, is this. These are sort of the entire documents. I won't go into uh, everything in detail, but something I want to highlight is, for Europe particularly, GRE is not mandatory, because GRE, they have realized that it's not sort of like a very vital parameter to assess candidates on. So they take into consideration your entire profile. Then things like your bachelor thesis abstract. This is basically in a final semester or a seventh semester, depending on which department you're in, you'll have your like a bachelor thesis, right? A major project. You need to write a one-page abstract or half a page abstract about what the project is about and how it relates with your what is the end result you plan to obtain. Um okay, I think these are the major documents that are required. And then the Gyan session. So one thing I want to make sure is, please be sure to write your SOP by yourself. You might apply to universities through consultants and stuff, and they'll promise you that we'll write the SOP for you. Please don't fall into that trap. You know why you shortlisted this particular university and why it interests you. Make sure that you itself write a SOP, because nobody else can write it better other than you. Identify 2 to 3 professors beforehand for LORs, and make sure you have good relations with them. For chemical students, Hari Maling sir is like a very good option. He'll write an SOP, an LOR for you, and Saidata sir also will write a very good LOR for you. And these two are like one of the good professors in chemical engineering department. Then there's have a good profile overall. Don't focus on academics alone, because that sort of backfires, right? Like, you didn't do anything in your undergraduate life. It's just studying, and that's sort of boring. Colleges would prefer somewhat like a holistic individual. And then aim to have at least one publication before you graduate, because then you can say that it is something that you did independently. And have research experience. I would say research experience helps a lot, because when you apply to master's program in Europe, since they have a mandatory thesis program, they'll prefer people who have that research experience. And for some universities in Europe, in your SOP, they'll tell you to write a brief idea about your master thesis. For example, TU Delft requires you to write a tentative idea for your master thesis. So it's fine if you don't know about the idea, what you want to do for your master thesis, but just have a tentative idea about the domain that you want to do, what is the end goal, and stuff like that, and try to highlight that in your SOP. I think that. Oh yeah, choose electives wisely. Okay, I can't stress on this enough, but then say if you want to transition to a field that is not in your department specifically, right? So if I'm going from chemical engineering to mechanical engineering, a master's in mechanical engineering, you need to know what are the credits or courses that the university requires you to cover. You will see that on their website, and then you can choose your electives based on the university's requirements. Don't just simply take SOM electives because SOM electives are easy to score. You need to choose electives wisely, because at the end of the day, you can get a reject. You can get rejected because you didn't fulfill the the course requirements. Okay, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. That was me, and these are my contact details. Feel free to reach out to me. Yeah, that brings me to the end of my session. Are there any questions, Hemant?
No questions.
Cool. Okay, fine. I think then we'll move on to Harikrishnan. Harikrishnan, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Okay. Thanks for your law. You're able to hear me, right?
Yeah, you're audible. You're audible.
Yeah. So hi guys, my name is Harhikrishnan, and as you see, like this is going to be a mini version, the profile of Ankit itself. As I am also going for the same university and same batch MS program. So I'm from metallurgical and materials background hereby. So next slide, please. Yeah. So as you see, like it's completely different from Ankit's profile. See, like I had a CGPA of 7.8 and at the time of publication, and I had one research internship and only two industrial internship and no publications. So it's like you can say like universities like you from here I want to say is like universities want to have a good number of students. Like they don't always want some high profile students. They try to get as much talented students as they want. Like there are some universities, so that's how you have to research on the universities, and you have to get to know what kind of program and what kind of university it is. So as per that, but you see the universities, some universities, they want, there will be has marginal criteria. They, so at least you try to you have to acquire that marginal criteria to eligible. At least they have to choose you for that. So yeah, so it's not like you have to work harder and do as much research and internships as such. So it's like you have to give your utmost effort and learn as much as possible, even though if you are going to do a one or two internships. So that's one of the like request I'm just giving out suggestion. So until next slide. So technically I'm just uh, had a fixed mindset on what I have to go. Like if you take, I focused on only in Europe, technical universities in Europe, and in particular Germany. So here you see I previous, and I applied for RWTH initial because that's the first university opens for the for MS application process. So I gained that, I admitted to that even before getting a result for technical university of Munich also. So it's still like I'm preferring RWTH. And you see Denmark, DTU is Technical University of Denmark. So that is also one of the good university in the Europe. So and the course structure they given the over the MS program is so unique, and really love that. But yeah, so in the end I'm going for RWTH because of the opportunity I have after the MS program itself. So next slide. Okay. So yeah, so here this is the one of the main part. So before starting your master, like fixing yourself to apply for master's program, you have to be specific in, you have to satisfy some criteria. Like try to gain some knowledge in the specific or different areas, because you say the research whatever you do, if even if you do 5 research internship, like you have either it should be a specific area of interest or else or different area of interest. Since like I know I experienced it because there are many of them won't be having an area of interest till the end. Like that will take time to understand where your interest lies, right? So to in order to uh, find your area of interest, it is better you have practical experience over the area of different vast area of uh, interest, like vast area of knowledge. So it is better to have practical training, like go for industrial internships or else research internships. Try for different projects also, like under your professors you can do multiple projects. If you get the chance to do it, yeah, you are welcome to do that. So based on that, you can identify your area of interest, and with that interest try to check for countries which will satisfy your demand. Like also think about which the country has the demand for your specific field. So if you take materials engineering, the specific in the demand is in Germany, US, and Australia. This is what I heard from my seniors. So in particular, I went for Germany. So I don't have to say why I chose it because Ankit already mentioned every inch by inch details. So let me go for next. So GRE is like, it depends. Like based on your university you prefer, just check their websites and you will get to know whether the GRE is necessary, and then English proficiency exam also. So and then before starting the application process itself, try to draft your resume and SOP, and also talk with your professors for LORs. So most of the universities have their application between October to mid January. So it's like there is no fixed date to mention here, because but you can roughly get an idea, but it will be between this region. So but there are some exceptions, because if you see Germany, they don't follow this kind of pattern. Like I said, RWTH have their application open way before every other university in the Germany itself. Like Technical University of Munich is they opened in the month of April only, and other universities after May or June. So there is no like regular pattern, like uh, compared to US, where they open all every universities open their application in the same timing, like October, between October to January. You can expect that. So next slide. So in order like there are universities which need SOP for you to write. Like so it is important to know how to write an SOP. So firstly try to learn what is SOP. So it is a motivation letter, like giving you extensively in a essay format to an admission committee. So with that uh, yes, like essay format of your motivation, they will get an idea like who you are and what you are beyond your marks and achievements, what you given in your resume itself. So in this, like the the motivation, what is like the admission committee will expect how what you are going to do after joining that university. Like they want to know your passion and how committed you will be towards the research after joining the university itself. So it is important for you to link all the details whatever you given in resume to the SOP, and link it to your future goals itself. That's the main idea of about the SOP itself. It is a golden opportunity for you to pursue your admission committee members itself, because the idea you giving into your SOP will reflect on your admission also. That can also just boost your admission process. The universities whichever ask for a SOP. So be mindful. So next slide please. So when you write an SOP, just have some thing in your mind, like SOP should be unique. Like you don't please don't refer to any other SOPs how they are writing it, because universities just prefer how you are trying to convey your ideas. That's the main criteria what the universities expect from you. And so that give as much as time for you guys. Like if you give 2 months of your time for SOP, then you will be having a lot of time to revise it. So as you revise multiple times, you will be able to improvise your SOP itself. That will be advantage for you guys. And then check for universities which require SOP. If you take Germany, they didn't ask for SOP, but compared to other country like the universities in other country like Sweden or the US, they will be asking for SOP. So you have to be have some kind of research before you are starting your application process for that university itself, and check for instructions given to write an SOP. Like you see, there is an example for you guys in below. Like did you had a prompt which wanted me to just give an information about my future and motivational study to in DTU. So it's like you don't have to elaborately explain every kind of thing. Ex- you have to explain whatever their instructions are. That's the more important thing, and convey your idea in your style. Like it should be coherent enough. Like when you are connecting your past to future goals, that should be a smooth transition, so that they won't find it abrupt, because that's that will also be a negative for you. So and then right, to start a SOP, research about the offered programs, university and country itself. So that will be helpful for you when you try to write your future goals and motivation for studying in that university. So that will help you guys. And be mindful of words or character limit. So there are those words are different, but you have to be precise enough how much words you can write. So you have to be talented enough to accommodate all the ideas you want to give out in the limited words. So yeah, Ankit. So to write an SOP, there is no specific structure you have to follow. Like it depends on you. Like you, how much, how you want to know, like how you want to convey it is all depends on you. So it's like SOP is all about narrating your past, present, and future goals. So in that process, you can follow multiple ways to convey your ideas itself. So in my case, I followed a structure, and if you want, you can just get some suggestion from this also. Like you can first you try to give your explanation about interest towards the program, and talk about your achievements and whatever exposure you gained in undergraduate, especially your academic exposure. So and then talk about your projects, internships, and research experience, especially their outcomes, your role, and the responsibility what gained from that specific internships. So after talking about every technical stuff, you give a narration about your extracurricular experience. So that will be like that will just have a good impression on you about you on academic committee members itself, because they will be expecting you to balance your life itself. That's what the real motivation. You have to balance your extracurricular as well as your academic also. And after completing all your talking about your past, you have to give your future goals. That's where you have to talk about the program, how the program is going to help help you with your goals, and the country you choose going to help you with your future goals itself. So ultimately you are going to get all the things whatever you learned in the past. Will you have to connect it to your future goals, how it going to help you. So that that's the main transition is required to when you are trying to give write an SOP. So this structure is like, it's not like generic. It's like whenever in the US, if you are thinking about US application, they they will be you can write an extensive uh, SOP, like one page of narration. So in when you are giving that much scope of like you 1,000 words of your SOP, then you can just get the reference from this itself. Or else, if you are there is a specific instructions, then you can just point out that specific struct. You can use it like whatever method you have. So yeah, Ankit. So when you are writing for an SOP, there should be do's and don'ts. So first, in do's, try to start strong, because if you write a 1,000 words of SOP, like sometimes the academic committee member itself won't be having a much of interest to read throughout the words. So if you start strong, then you have a good impression, and that can also boost you. And be formal and direct. You don't have to be like you don't have to narrate every kind of details. You have to be just like how I said. The outcome is more important when you write an SOP. So, and be relevant to the program. If you're doing an internship, like 5 internships, that's much good. But when the program is about materials, then your whatever research you did closely related to materials, then try to talk more about that specific research, and just give a rough idea about the other research whatever you given. That's how you relevant you have to be in programs. So that, and also you can just compare the other research internship programs, and how that especially helped you and guided you to choose that specific program. And check for grammatical errors. This is something very important, because you should not have any negative impact towards your SOP. And don'ts. So this is a strong suggestion. Don't try to neglect this, because SOP, when you start to write a SOP, don't read other people's SOP. First complete yours, and then go for giving a read about others. So you will be getting a little bit idea like how to improvise yourself. And don't exaggerate any details. Like, you don't have to give out how you started the project and how you flow gone with the flow or something like that. You just have to be like, you done this project and what is the outcome you gain from the project. That's how it should be. That's what I pointed out in the next point. Don't fill it with stories. Be it with the be it with the what you did, and what is the outcome you gained. And do not copy paste everything from your resume, because resume is something like just a short short term, like you have little bit detail, but you have to give a full narration about the details whatever. Like, you see, you did a research internship in the 2021, like, and then next internship and 2022. So you have to give a correct you have to be proper enough to relate that first and second internship, and you have to show your how that experience aided you. And yeah, next slide please. So finally, with I'll give there are some tips from my side. So research your seniors profile, who are all joined in specific universities. So in my case, I know senior who joined from our college to that RWTH, and I worked on researching uh, his profile. How what is the kind of profile he had while applying for RWTH. So I literally try to focus on improvising myself uh, to the extent of how much he had the profile. And also, yeah, and little more about that too. So it's like, it you have to be aware of how that university, what is the university requirement. So that's one of the easiest way is to research your seniors who are joined in that university itself. So that's one kind of trick you can use for yours also. That's how I got fixed mindset on what I want to go. So, and then, yeah, if you're planning for Germany, check about APS certificate, because in last October they started this APS certificate thing. So if you want to get student visa, you have to have an APS certificate, and some universities might demand APS during the application process when it comes to you, because in our case they just kept it as optional, but maybe it can be like mandatory for you guys also. So be aware of that. And then so if you take it, there is a checklist given by APS website itself, but there are but you that is a easy way to confuse yourself, because when sometimes they with even before completing a bachelor's you can apply for APS certificate, where you just need to give a set exact details while registering. So when you register you can get to know how what is that exact what is the detail. And so this is like everyone said it before, like have a good profile in both academics and extracurricular activities, so that that balance is really important. And then your quality. So even though if you get a chance to do multiple internships, then go for it. That's really what everyone recommends. But if you didn't get a chance, then whatever you do, just have a try to do it as much as possible. You have to try to gain as much experience from it, so that experience and outcome will play a significant role when it comes to your application. And then check for scholarships, like from the beginning itself, because most of the application timing, like uh, MS application and the scholarship application timings will be more or less similar. So based on your, like wherever you want to go, just check base relatively. So yeah, next slide, Ankit. So all the very best for everyone who wants to pursue masters or PhD. So if you have any doubts regarding Germany, especially, I can easily help you with that. So you can contact me in anything as you would like. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Harhikrishnan. Are there any questions, Hemant?
There is one question. Vaibhav was asking, would 7.4 make the cut, or should I try to get it above 8 in my final year and then apply next year?
Try to gain. Yeah, it is better to be above 75%. Like if you said 7.4, right? Try to boost it to 7.6 at least. But that is the safer side, because even though I said there is a universities look for the raw talent, still CGPA matters to an extent. So instead of, like, there are universities who have the cutoff like 70% or 74%, or there is no cutoff itself. So it depends. So try to gain, try to boost it to about 7.5. That's recommended for you if you want to go for good university also. Yeah.
Okay, thank
Those
you,
are
thank you.
the only question.
Fine. Thank you, Hemant.
Thank
Thank you,
you. Thank
Harhikrishnan.
you.
We'll move to the next speaker, Atharva.
Yeah, thank you, Ankit. Hey everyone, my name is Atharva Joshi. I will be pursuing my MS in Mechanical Engineering at UC San Diego. Next, please. Yeah, so this is my profile. My major is Mechanical Engineering. I got a GRE 320 and TOEFL 109 or 120. I did 3 research internships, my latest being at the University of Manchester, England. I did an industrial internship in TCS. I got it one on campus. Then I did one in NIT itself and one in Harhikrishnan. During the time of applying, I had one publication review and 2 in the manuscript stage. And yeah, my field of interests are thermal engineering and computational fluid dynamics. So I can go to next. Yeah. So I'll be covering mostly GRE and TOEFL in detail in my part. And this is the timeline for all those who want to know. Like, this is the timeline which I followed. So I started my prep in December 2021, and I gave my first mock test in March 2022. And from then on, I just started giving mock tests and just practicing papers. And in July, I got a slot for the actual GRE test. And 1 month later, I gave my TOEFL. So, yeah, next please. So, yeah, if you had to sum up GRE prep, I found this very interesting quote on the internet. It's like a linguistic nightmare, right? So, GRE, I think for most of us, the vocab section is one of the most hardest. So, I think a few tips and tricks which I will provide along the course of this talk. So, firstly, how do you proceed? Like, you have to familiarize yourself with the exam structure. So, how I did it was before the start of my prep, I just gave a diagnostic test. I understood, okay, these are my weak points where I need to focus on more during my preparation. And this will also give an idea where to begin, right? And secondly, just create a detailed study plan, set realistic milestones. You will want to monitor your progress at each step and check if you have understood the concepts correctly. All right? Third being just learn various test taking strategies, like for example, method of elimination or just how to make an educated guess. These will particularly be helpful in the vocab section because there might come words where you haven't heard of them anytime, and you need to make a guess to make sure what fits the best, right? And yeah, I can't stress on this more, but just be consistent. I think GRE preparation is something where you have to be consistent with your plan, because if you take a month's gap or something and then it's all over the place, like I cannot stress enough about the importance of being consistent. Like I used to spend 1 to 2 hours per day, and how I used to divide my time was like I did 25% of my time to practice some quant and then rest 75 to practice my vocab, since my vocab was not that great. And that's how I divided my time. So you can divide your time as per what you think. So next, please. Yeah. So here are some resources which I used during my preparation. So textbooks such as Princeton Barron's, the Manhattan 5 Pounds, and the ATS official guide. Personally, I use the Manhattan 5 Pounds extensively to revise the concepts and use the other books to solve the practice papers and other questions. Also, once you make an account with ETS, I think you will get 1 to 2 free tests. I would recommend giving those free tests because they always contain the latest format of the exam which you'll be giving in the coming few months, right? And thing is that the format keeps changing 1 or 2 years, so just keep checking the ETS website. Uh, I've also shared a drive link for all the resources for the GRE. Everything is free and downloadable. So I don't know if we are sharing this PPT with you guys after the talk, but I think you can reach out to me if you need the resources. But yeah, you would need to search for resources online. All the textbooks are there on the drive. So, and for vocab, anything related to vocab, you have to see this guy called Greg Matt on YouTube. I think he has a word bank of around 960 words, and you can test your vocab daily using his test, right? And if you're scoring at least 25 plus out of 30 on his test, it means I think you're on the right track. Um, and just keep practicing vocab. He has 30 words per day, which you can learn, and you can test it out on the same day, and you can go back. So yeah, there's an Excel sheet which I have given here. Secondly, if you want a perfect quant score, right? I think standard and normal distribution can get in your way. So just make sure you practice that enough. I think the test tutor on YouTube is the best resource. Is the resource which I used, and yeah, if you want, there are many more videos, but the test tutor should suffice. Note that the GRE is for some universities. Some universities will specify GRE as not mandatory / optional / mandatory. So you need to make sure to read the requirements of each university you want to apply. So in my case, in UCSD, they didn't require a GRE score, but for Purdue, they did ask for it. And in some cases, it's optional. So if you're just confused whether or not should I just submit my GRE score, think of it as, okay, let's say you have a low GPA, right? I think someone mentioned they had a GPA of 7.4, and at the time of applying, you can't make it up to 8 or something. Try to do well on your GRE, and if it's optional, try to submit your GRE score there. And it should help the admission committee see to the fact that, okay, you have a 7.4, but you have done well on your GRE. So you have the aptitude for gadget study. So yeah, it's not tried and tested, but it will sure help you improve your profile. But yeah, just make sure to check the requirements of each and every university. Also, after you give a GRE or TOEFL or any other exam, you will be able to send your score to 3 to 4 universities for free. So make sure you have a list ready. I know it takes time to decide on universities, to shortlist universities, but have a rough idea of what universities you want to go for, and because it will ask you at the end of your test where you want to submit your skills. And yeah, wait, next please. Yeah, TOEFL. So the English in TOEFL is relatively simpler compared to GRE. I mean, if you have done well on your GRE vocab of the GRE, TOEFL should be a breeze. But there is still tendency to make silly mistakes. I think one thing is just read the question what they've asked and answer carefully, um, because that's most of the time you will just overlook what they've asked and just mark something else, right? So just be careful. Also be mindful that each university has a specific cutoff for TOEFL. I think for UCSD it was around 85, uh, and it varies from universities to university. And and if you're aiming for university, make sure that you achieve that TOEFL score, right? And now, for example, if you're looking for a TA position once you get into grad school, they will also require you to have a good speaking score. I think it depends. Again, the cutoffs vary from 27 out of 30 or 28 out of 30. So yeah, practice accordingly. You should know what you're looking for, basically. So here are some resources for TOEFL speaking. I think there's a YouTube link where this lady has given a wonderful template on how you need to frame or structure your answers during the speaking test. There's TOEFL listening as well, where you can practice various listening questions. One advice I would give during listening on the day of the actual test is that just be extra careful, because sometimes in the exam center, while you're doing the listening section, someone else beside you will be doing the speaking section. And trust me, I think the headphones there are not of great quality. They don't block noise or anything. So make sure you're very audible while you're doing the speaking test. Otherwise, it won't get registered. All right. TOEFL reading, again, you could use textbooks like I mentioned earlier, like Barron's or McGraw-Hill, etc. Um, Regarding TOEFL writing, there are two tasks. There's an integrated and an independent writing task. In integrated, you will have a set of passages you have to read. Then there will be a listening comprehension, and based on those two, you have to write a small note about what you heard and your thoughts. And there's an independent writing task where there will be just a passage. So yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, so from a mechanical perspective, I think I'm the only mechanical engineering student on the panel here. For all you mechanical engineers out there, I know it's not easy to find your area of interest right out of the first year. Like, should I go into automobiles or manufacturing or materials, etc. Right? So I found out after taking mechanical courses in my second year that CFD was the right path for me. So unlike subjects or like manufacturing or material sciences, CFD just came naturally to me. For you, it might be something different. Then within CFD itself, I started exploring various subtopics such as aerospace, geofluid dynamics, biofluid dynamics, thermal engineering, etc. Before I could just finalize on my specialization. So ultimately, by the end of second year, I knew what I wanted to do. It gave me the why of my MSc, right? And that why is what you need to answer in your SOP. Your SOP is entirely structured around the why of the MS. And then accordingly, I started searching research internships in my field of interest. So this is something which I've observed in while applying for MS and mechanical engineering, that does university accept applications for the terminal master's program? So a couple of universities which I was seeing is that they were not accepting applications for just 2 year masters. They wanted to do masters. What they wanted you to do masters plus a PhD program. They wanted you to continue into a PhD program. So just be mindful of that, because if you apply to saying if you just want a terminal masters, you'll most likely be rejected, right? So yeah, so your application material must reflect that you're there to stay. Like I think for example, Georgia Tech, UC Berkeley, stuff like that, they don't offer terminal masters program. Right? If they offer, it's a very small program. So again, next you need to ask, does the specialization you desire have good labs and courses at the university of your liking? Now, there might be a case where a university is very reputed, but it does not have the profs who are actively working on that research topic, right? So you need to make sure you make your choice very wisely. You need to go through all the department labs of what whatever universities you're planning for. Search maybe just mail professors saying, okay, I'm interested in so and so topic. Do you have a lab for this? Or do you deal with this topic? Maybe they used to deal with the topic 10 years ago, but they shifted. Yeah, it varies. So I think another important question you ask yourself is thesis versus non-thesis master, right? So personally, I chose a thesis option because I had a certain knack for research, and but I did still want to continue into a PhD program. So while applying for a MS, thesis option is where you'll have to present a master's thesis at the end of your degree, and a non-thesis where it will be just coursework. Right? So whatever it is, mention and briefly explain your choice in the SOP. Right? You can always shift from a non-thesis thesis to a non-thesis option, but it will be good if you give the admission committee a certain clarity on why you want a thesis option, why you want to specialize in particular domain, etc. And not all universities offer thesis, so again, choose accordingly. Yeah, I think next. Yeah, that's it from my side. You can contact me on LinkedIn, email, or my WhatsApp if you need any materials for GRE or TOEFL. And yeah, all the best. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Atharva. Hemant, are there any questions?
No questions.
Fine. That brings us to the last speaker of the day, Vaibhav.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm audible, Ankit.
Yeah, you're audible. You're audible.
So, hi guys, I'm Vaibhav, and so I'll wrap up this thing a bit, like fast. Like most of the speakers have covered like all the topics. So, I'll start with my profile. Like, what was my profile? So, I was not having very great GPA. Like, it was just 8.01. Like while I was applying. So, people with low GPA don't worry much. Just work on your other part, which can justify your profile, like do some research internship, good research internship. So coming to next thing, so what I did, so internship, before while I was applying, so I did two research internships. One was in my second year, and which I did from University of Auckland, and another was MyTex. So yeah, like I was having like pretty much good research profile, and the university which I applied to was UCLA, UCSD, UMich, and University of Washington, Seattle, and Texas A&M, and I think UT Austin. I said UT Austin. So out of these six, I got admit in four, and Texas A&M, I got admit in some another program like which was subsea engineering, which is not. Uh, it is around structural engineering, but um, it's more related to oil rigs and all. So this is what I got. So the most important thing which I thought throughout the process is like you should have some genuine SOP with all the points justifying in your SOP, like which you have mentioned in your CV resume. And other than that, if you don't have publications, so don't worry. You should, but you should must have some LOR which justify your work, like which justify your research work, or I mean, if you do some corporate research, corporate internship, so you should have some. You should must have LOR from your manager, so which should justify yes you did some work, whatever you have mentioned in your CV or resume. So yeah, so next thing I'll talk about why I choose USA over any other, uh, like Europe. So I was went to Canada in my third year. So like I like it pretty much, and culture over there in US and Canada is almost same. So this was the main reason why I applied, and program which I was looking for was only offered in UCSD. Like I'm going for masters in structural health monitoring and ND. So these are the reasons which are like why I chose US. And yeah, I'll suggest don't just go around names. Like also check for courses, what exactly university is offering. So uh, yeah, I think this is pretty much it from my side. So guys, if you have any questions, so do let me know.
All right. Thank you so much, Vaibhav.
Okay.
Hemant, are there any questions available?
No questions.
Fine. Okay. I would request all the speakers to kindly turn on their cameras. If you guys feel that there was something that was not addressed during the session and you think it could be addressed now, it would be nice if you guys could address that. If you could share your points on that. Um, yeah, do you guys feel that way? Is there anything that could have been addressed? Some general tips.
It just went out of the call. So is there any tips like we want to give or what? I just don't find it anything like we. I didn't think we've missed out anything. So viewers, like if you have any queries, like you can always reach up to us. Like we will be having our thing. Like I think the PPT can be shared with the juniors itself if possible. So still you can do that. Yeah. So Pranav, are you there?
Yeah, I think I would like to share one tip. Like while applying to universities, some universities conduct webinars or info sessions, right, before in the application session, and there might be a chance that you might get an application fee waiver. So you could check that out. Not every universities gave it, but I think Purdue did one grad expo, so I got one there. So yeah, it might just save you some dollars.
Yeah, I'll just add on, like, just a heads up from my side. For all this, you don't need to take help of any consultancy or something like that. A lot of people
Yeah,
do that,
exactly.
but I feel this is pretty much your own journey. It's just how you present it and how you show and display your motivation towards your work is what lands you a good research or a good graduate position. So, I mean, just believe in yourself and keep working on yourself. That should be more than enough.
Okay.
So if we don't have anything to add upon, we can end this session. And Hemant, there is no questions till now, right? Or is it there?
No, no more questions.
Yeah. Okay then. So I think this is the end of our session. Like, thanks for everyone to watch out, and so feel free to just contact any one of us if you want to go, like based on your interest from whatever you want to learn, like whatever masters you want to do. So yeah, all the best for everyone who want to pursue masters and so. So yeah, yeah, Pranav.